Hello friends, I'm Samuel Oyeleke, the lead pastor of RCCG The Hub, the House of Parallel Blessing. This is to invite you to the Financial Business Empowerment Series. You see, the current socio-economic state of this world requires a different type of thinking. The battle has changed, and so must it. The Financial and Business Empowerment Series is positioned to equip participants with the required tools and knowledge to navigate the new world order. We have assembled top futurists and thought shapers from across the world to engage in the following topics. Pastor Emmanuel Obeji, the senior pastor, Diplomat Assembly, South Africa, will be speaking on the physics of money. He will be laying the foundation and bringing in new principles and concepts. Dr. Olu Ogunfowora, the managing director at Idealis Investment UK, will be sharing on impact investing. This is talking about wealth creation by solving social problems, thereby putting further practical context to the discussion. And also we'll be having Mr. Segun Fadansi, a general manager at Guaranty Trust Bank Nigeria. We'll be talking on personal financial tips, how to grow your money. This will allow you to relate with his personal experience as an intentional financial manager. We'll be hosting this program on Zoom on Saturday, 25th April 2020 at 3 p.m. West African time. We also live stream on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. As a participant, you will take home by learning enough to cause a paradigm shift in your personal financial management activities. I really want you to be part of this. You will not regret it. Hello friends, I'm Samuel Oyeleke, the lead pastor of RCCG The Hub, the House of Parallel Blessing. This is to invite you to the Financial Business Empowerment Series. You see, the current socio-economic state of this world requires a different type of thinking. The battle has changed, and so must it. The Financial and Business Empowerment Series is positioned to equip participants with the required tools and knowledge to navigate the new world order. We have assembled top futurists and thought shapers from across the world to engage in the following topics. Pastor Emmanuel Obeji, the senior pastor, Diplomat Assembly, South Africa, will be speaking on the physics of money. He will be laying the foundation and bringing in new principles and concepts. Dr. Olu Ogunfowora, the managing director at Idealis Investment UK, will be sharing on impact investing. This is talking about wealth creation by solving social problems, thereby putting further practical context to the discussion. And also we'll be having Mr. Segun Fadansi, a general manager at Guaranty Trust Bank Nigeria. We'll be talking on personal financial tips, how to grow your money. This will allow you to relate with his personal experience as an intentional financial manager. We'll be hosting this program on Zoom on Saturday, 25th April 2020 at 3 p.m. West African time. We also live stream on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. As a participant, you will take home by learning enough to cause a paradigm shift in your personal financial management activities. I really want you to be part of this. You will not regret it. Hello friends, I'm Samuel Oyeleke, the lead pastor of RCCG The Hub, the House of Parallel Blessing. This is to invite you to the Financial Business Empowerment Series. You see, the current socio-economic state of this world requires a different type of thinking. The battle has changed, and so must it. The Financial and Business Empowerment Series is positioned to equip participants with the required tools and knowledge to navigate the new world order. We have assembled top futurists and thought shapers from across the world to engage in the following topics. Pastor Emmanuel Obeji, the senior pastor, Diplomat Assembly, South Africa, will be speaking on the physics of money. He will be laying the foundation and bringing in new principles and concepts. Dr. Olu Ogunfowora, the managing director at Idealis Investment UK, will be sharing on impact investing. This is talking about wealth creation by solving social problems, thereby putting further practical context to the discussion. And also we'll be having Mr. Segun Fadansi, a general manager at Guaranty Trust Bank Nigeria. We'll be talking on personal financial tips, how to grow your money. This will allow you to relate with his personal experience as an intentional financial manager. We'll be hosting this program on Zoom on Saturday, 25th April 2020 at 3 p.m. West African time. We also live stream on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. As As a participant, you will take home by learning enough to cause a paradigm shift in your personal financial management activities. I really want you to be part of this. You will not regret it. Hello friends, I'm Samuel Oyeleke, the lead pastor of RCCG the House of Parallel Blessing. This is to invite you to the Financial Business Empowerment Series. You see, the current socio-economic state of this world requires a different type of thinking. The battle has changed, and so must the world. The Financial and Business Empowerment Series is positioned to equip participants with the required tools and knowledge to navigate the new world order. We have assembled top futurists and thought shapers from across the world to engage in the following topics. Pastor Emmanuel Obeji, the senior pastor, Diplomat Assembly, South Africa, will be speaking on the physics of money. He will be laying the foundation and bringing in new principles and concepts. Dr. Olu Obufora, the managing director at Idealis Investment UK, will be sharing on impact investing. This is talking about wealth creation by solving social problems, thereby putting further practical context to the discussion. And also we'll be having Mr. Segun Fadansi, a general manager at Guaranty Trust Bank Nigeria. We'll be talking on personal financial tips, how to grow your money. This will allow you to relate with his personal experience as an intentional financial manager. We'll be hosting this program on Zoom on Saturday, 25th April 2020 at 3 p.m. West African time. We also live stream on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. As a participant, you will take home by learning enough to cause a paradigm shift in your personal financial management activities. I really want you to be part of this. You will not regret it. Hello friends, I'm Samuel Oyeleke, the lead pastor of RCCG the House of Parallel Blessing. This is to invite you to the Financial Business Empowerment Series. You see, the current socio-economic state of this world requires a different type of thinking. The battle has changed, and so must the world. The Financial and Business Empowerment Series is positioned to equip participants with the required tools and knowledge to navigate the new world order. We have assembled top futurists and thought shapers from across the world to engage in the following topics. Pastor Emmanuel Obeji, the senior pastor, Diplomat Assembly, South Africa, will be speaking on the physics of money. He will be laying the foundation and bringing in new principles and concepts. Dr. Olu Obufora, the managing director at Idealis Investment UK, will be sharing on impact investing. This is talking about wealth creation by solving social problems, thereby putting further practical context to the discussion. And also we'll be having Mr. Segun Fadansi, a general manager at Guaranty Trust Bank Nigeria. We'll be talking on personal financial tips, how to grow your money. This will allow you to relate with his personal experience as an intentional financial manager. We'll be hosting this program on Zoom on Saturday, 25th April 2020 at 3 p.m. West African time. We also live stream on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. As a participant, you will take home by learning enough to cause a paradigm shift in your personal financial management activities. I really want you to be part of this. You will not regret it. Hello friends, I'm Samuel Oyeleke, the lead pastor of RCCG the House of Parallel Blessing. This is to invite you to the Financial Business Empowerment Series. You see, the current socio-economic state of this world requires a different type of thinking. The battle has changed, and so must the world. The Financial and Business Empowerment Series is positioned to equip participants with the required tools and knowledge to navigate the new world order. We have assembled top futurists and thought shapers from across the world to engage in the following topics. Pastor Emmanuel Obeji, the senior pastor, Diplomat Assembly, South Africa, will be speaking on the physics of money. He will be laying the foundation and bringing in new principles and concepts. Dr. Olu Obufora, the managing director at Idealis Investment UK, will be sharing on impact investing. This is talking about wealth creation by solving social problems, thereby putting further practical context to the discussion. And also we'll be having Mr. Segun Fadansi, a general manager at Guaranty Trust Bank Nigeria. We'll be talking on personal financial tips, how to grow your money. This will allow you to relate with his personal experience as an intentional financial manager. We'll be hosting this program on Zoom on Saturday, 25th April 2020 at 3 p.m. West African time. We also live stream on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. As a participant, you will take home by learning enough to cause a paradigm shift in your personal financial management activities. I really want you to be part of this. You will not regret it. Hello friends, I'm Samuel Oyedeke, the lead pastor of RCCG the House of Unparalleled Blessing. This is to invite you to the Financial Business Empowerment Series. You see, the current socio-economic state of this world requires a different type of thinking. The battle has changed, and so must it. The Financial and Business Empowerment Series is positioned to equip participants with the required tools and knowledge to navigate the new world order. We have assembled top futurists and thought shapers from across the world to engage in the following topics. Pastor Manuel Ogbeji, the Senior Pastor, Diplomat Assembly, South Africa.
I don't want to call you an idiot again, but you're not too smart. Wesley, billion-dollar virgin, I want to help you. You're looking at these vehicles right now. Are they mine? Of course they're mine. They're not f***ing rented. I know some of you guys are going to troll. It's okay. I'm coming from love because I know how it feels to struggle. I know you have that dream. You want to do something big, but everybody around you don't understand you. Take action. Click the link. Much love. Let's go.
In this video, I'm going to share with you a couple different strategies for having a reliable stream for your church's online worship gatherings. First, I'll walk you through how my church is currently using Restream.io as our cloud multi-streaming service and streaming scheduler. Then I'm going to show you other options you can explore by getting some hardware solutions. Here I have the Living as One Ray encoder. So there's various ways you can go about creating a live stream system that is almost 100% reliable. Of course, there are pros and cons to each one of these methods, and I'll unpack those in this video. If we haven't met yet, my name is Jake Goslin of churchfront.com, helping you lead gospel-centered and tech-savvy worship. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of our latest videos to help you grow yourself and grow your worship ministry. I also want to invite you to check out our Beginner's Guide to Live Streaming for Churches online course. This is going to cover everything that we have mentioned on this channel about live streaming, but we go much more in depth and give you click-by-click tutorials and guides for all of the software and gear setups we recommend for a smaller church wanting to get up and running with live streaming quickly. So check out that link in the description of this video to sign up for the course today. In this video, we're talking about one of the final steps of your live streaming system, and that is getting your final program feed or your final pre-recorded video out to your congregation and making sure that it gets out there reliably and they're not going to experience interruptions or your stream won't just completely cut out on you. The solution we are currently using at Mission Lakewood Church is the one I plan on using for the foreseeable future. We are pre-producing our online worship gathering during the week, and then we schedule and play back the video and stream it to the platforms on Sunday morning. Believe it or not, there are actually various ways you can go about doing that. You can load the video file into Ecamm Live and then go live with Ecamm to restream and then just press play on the video file or cue your scene in Ecamm, and then it will play back that video. So you're playing back a pre-recorded video in Ecamm, and then it's sending that video to Restream to be encoded further. But there is one major weak link within even that system, and that is my local internet connection. I've used this strategy of playing back a video in Ecamm and then streaming it live to our social platforms the past few weeks, and it has worked well for the most part. We had one service where we had like 3 minutes left in our stream,
their
and then all of a
income
sudden
and their
my internet
finances. The
connection
Bible
on my
says,
computer just like completely dropped
to
out on us,
soul
and we
without
lost the stream.
knowledge
So it wasn't
is not
Restream's fault,
good.
it wasn't Ecamm's
And
fault, it was
we
Comcast's
believe
fault.
God
I
that
even had
with
my
the
computer hardwired directly into my router, so it wasn't like I was using Wi-Fi.
Okay, please,
It just
can
completely
I
dropped
ask
out on us.
everyone to
Unfortunately,
please
it was only when we had a couple minutes left of our stream.
can I ask you to please mute
So it
your
wasn't
microphone?
that big of a letdown.
We are trying
But
to
that was
mute
the Sunday
everybody
before
here,
Easter,
and you are honing
my
it
pastor
again.
and I
Please
were like,
mute
we
your
gotta have a
microphone
better,
so that
more reliable
you
solution
can hear
for
me.
streaming
Thank you.
to these social platforms.
For
That's
a
when I
soul to be
discovered the
without
power
knowledge,
of
the Bible says not
Restream's
good.
scheduler
So
feature. So I've been a fan of
believe
Restream
God that
for
God
a
has
couple months now that I've been
prepared
using it.
our
It's really great.
facilitator
You can integrate it well with
to
Ecamm Live,
be able
and
to
then if you
share
want
with
to go
us
live,
this
it'll instantly
afternoon
send your live
great
streaming
insight
feed straight to Facebook
that
or
will be
YouTube. But
a great
Restream also
blessing
has
to
this
us.
scheduler
I
feature where you can
will
take
be
your full service
introducing
video, if you pre-recorded it during the week, you
our
upload
facilitator
it to your
us
library of
now,
videos within
and I believe
Restream. So
God
here you can see
that
our Easter
their
Sunday videos.
coming
We had
will
one
really
for
be
kids, and
a
then we
great
did
blessing
another video, obviously, for our
to
full
each
Easter
and
service.
every one of us.
And you upload the video to Restream by simply selecting
To start
Upload
with
Video,
the
and
introduction,
then you find the
I'll be
video on your hard
introducing
drive. So here's our edited service videos,
Pastor
and I can select any one of these videos,
Emmanuel,
but they're already there. So I went ahead and I uploaded one of those
Pastor
videos.
Emmanuel,
Usually takes a
which-
few minutes for it to upload
Pastor Emmanuel,
the videos. They're
which
larger
is
files, so anywhere between 1 gigabyte to 5
the
gigabytes. Then once the video is in Restream's servers,
Senior
then you can go
pastor
into events, you go to schedule
Diplomat
event, and you can
Assembly
name the title of your stream. You can select which video
in
it's
South
going to be using
Africa.
for that stream, and then you can select a date
And,
and a time.
he's the
You can even select,
president
do you want it to be on all of your channels? Do you want it to just go to one social platform? You can
Hello?
even make the event repeat, and you can
He's the
even
president.
select what video streaming ingest you want to use. So I'll go ahead and just kind of run a test setup for you right now. Let's pretend that we're scheduling this event to happen right here. I'll just go schedule live event for April 21st. And now we see this live streaming as part of our event schedule right here. It's going to Facebook and YouTube, and I'm gonna go ahead and I could edit it, or I'll just go ahead and delete it because we obviously don't want that happening. I don't think this experience could be any more user-friendly. So if you are doing a truly simulated live stream where you're pre-recording everything and all you have is one final video that you need to stream live for your church on Sunday morning, I think this is a really great route to go. We use this on Easter Sunday, and you know, this was completely stable. It worked flawlessly. At the time of the scheduled event at 10 a.m. on Sunday, our stream popped up on Facebook and YouTube. I didn't have to worry about my local internet connection holding up for us. It was all being streamed from Restream servers in the cloud. And I'm not an expert when it comes to cloud computing and networking and all that fancy stuff that goes on behind the scenes. But my intuition says by uploading the video files to Restream's cloud servers, the connection between their servers and talking to Facebook and YouTube is going to be much more reliable than having to get a stream from my computer through my local internet to Restream and then to Facebook or YouTube. It just really eliminates the weakest link in that chain of sending the signal from our office here to the actual social platform. So if you're doing simulated live streams and you want a highly reliable way to deliver that stream to your congregation, go with Restream's scheduler feature. Keep in mind, Restream does cost money. It's a monthly subscription, and you have to pay for the right plan in order to upload your large video files to your worship service. So I had to make it so I could upload files over 5 gigabytes. But so far, it's been totally worth it, and we have a reliable solution for our streaming. So that's the first solution to this problem, and it's also a more budget-friendly solution. Next, I have a solution that is quite a bit more powerful. It's going to give you more flexibility in your streaming workflow. Here I have the Ray encoder. This is a streaming encoder from a company called Living As One. So you guys can borrow this for a while. Unfortunately, I haven't actually been able to use it very much yet, but I know a lot of churches are using it, have been using it. This is the same technology software that churches like Elevation, Red Rocks Church, a lot of these large churches out there that have amazing, reliable live streams, they're using
investing.
This hardware
A
encoder
master's
isn't cheap.
degree
It
in
is
innovation
$1,300,
management
and that's
and
basically because
entrepreneurship at
this
the
is a
University
little
of
computer. It
Manchester,
is the
UK.
actual, the
He
Intel
graduated with
Nuke computer.
first
So
class honor
that's going to
bachelor's
be an
degree
investment.
in
And then you also
electronics
have to subscribe to
and
one
electrical
of Living as
engineering
One's
and won
plans.
the
Depending on
Faculty of
how many
Technology Prize for the
different
best
platforms you
graduating
want to
student
stream to, you'll have to
1993,
pay a
1994
subscription
session at
accordingly.
Obafemi
Social
Awolowo
only is
University,
$99 a month,
Ilefe,
embed
Nigeria.
only is $199 a month,
He
or
will
you can do
be
Pro Web
joining
plus
us
Social, which is
to speak
$279 a month.
with
So
us
not
today
cheap, but again,
on
if you're going to expect
in
to have a
passing
flawless
a
stream for your
master's
congregation,
degree
you're
in
going to have
Please join me
to
to welcome
obviously be ready to
Dr.
invest in the right software and tools to make that happen.
Actual,
So to sum up everything we talked
graduated
about
with
in this video,
first
if you're
class
doing
honor
a
bachelor's
simulated
and
live
lastly,
stream and you don't want to
last
just
but not
post a
least,
video or premiere a video
we
on
have the
Facebook or YouTube,
Faculty
you
of
really want to
Technology
like
Prize
make it
for
feel
students
like an actual live streaming
1993.
experience, and you're pre-recording everything ahead of time, and you have a final video that you can upload to, let's say, a Restream service. Then go that route. Use Restream.io. Use their scheduler feature. That's going to be the easiest way and most reliable way to do your simulated live stream. But let's say you want a true live element to your streams, and you maybe have experienced issues going from Ecamm or vMix or Wirecast to your social platforms. You experience dropouts. It's just not being very reliable. That's when you would want to explore this solution with an encoder from Living as One. Keep in mind, if you do use this solution, you're going to need some additional hardware, like a video switcher that's going to send all your video signals into this encoder. So this is definitely going to be a bit more complicated, more expensive, but it's going to give you that ability to do true live streaming and have the highest reliability possible. You don't necessarily need any of these tools that I talked about in this video to do a live stream. For the most part, if you have a reliable internet connection and you're going live to
focus on
Facebook, let's say you want to experience too many issues, but honestly, you can't really afford to experience interruptions or dropouts. That's why
He
we
enjoyed
opted
the
to go
federal
for
government
a
secondary
Restream
school scholarship.
schedule.
About the three of them that we have this afternoon is that they both graduated from the University of Lagos, or University of Obafemi University in OAU, and they graduated the same year. They graduated the same year.
In this
And,
video, I'm going to walk you
they
through
have
a
been
live streaming
a
setup
great
for
blessing
churches
all
that's
over
quick
the
to
world
assemble
to
and
as
easy
many
to
as
use,
that come
even
in
for
contact
small or
This
portable
afternoon, I
churches.
trust
I'm going to
God
walk
that
you
God
through
will
all
be
the
using
gear
them
you're going to need,
to be
as
a
well
great
as
blessing
some of my
to
favorite
us
pieces of
today.
software for streaming
Please
to
join me to
Facebook,
welcome
YouTube, or a private server.
the
Watch to the end because I think you'll
Hello,
discover that
friends.
live
The
streaming
lead
for your
pastor
church doesn't have to be as expensive or
Pastor
complicated as it sounds. And with the right tools and a little bit of guidance, you can reach your church community online in just a few easy steps.
Today, we'll be first speaker, and that will be coming from Pastor Emmanuel.
My name is Jake Gaza from churchfront.com, an online resource for innovative and creative church leaders. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you'll receive all of our latest content to help you grow yourself and grow your church. Make sure you check out the show notes below for links to all of the gear and software mentioned in this video that's going to help you get up and running with your own live stream system. So what I'm going to do now is show you step by step how to build a live streaming system for your church.
As a part of the panelists this afternoon, I
Welcome,
want
sir.
appreciate everyone who have joined us, wherever you have joined us from, and also special appreciation to my friends and colleagues. Like Pastor Ina mentioned, all three of us were at Electrical Electronics Engineering Department in Obafemi Awolowo University, and we have been friends for many years. And it's a great opportunity to be here from some of the important things we have learned over the years with everyone who has connected this afternoon. I've been asked to speak to us on the subject of the physics of money. The physics of money is an extract from a book which I wrote titled The Physics of Money. And I would like to begin this afternoon by, first of all, emphasizing the fact that events like these are very critical and very important if we are going to be able to experience the kind of change we all desire in our lives. Financial intelligence is not something that you pick up except you intentionally make efforts to be able to acquire such financial intelligence. Financial intelligence is the ability to understand the movement of money and to be able to take advantage of it in such a way that you can gain the kind of prosperity that your heart desires. The Bible clearly tells us that God's plan and purpose for our life is for us to prosper and be in health. And if God's intention is for us to prosper and be in health, it therefore behoves us as Christians to invest our time and resources in order to be able to gain the necessary knowledge that is required for us to be able to attain the heights that God desires for us to attain onto. Now, I would like to begin by defining what is physics of money. Now, physics of money is a classic financial intelligence expose based on the principles of physics. Now, money mirrors the entire scope of physics, ranging from mechanics, heat, light, and other radiation, sound, electricity, magnetism, and the structure of atoms. Money completely mirrors the entire scope of physics, and physics of money is a study that focuses on principles of physics and using those principles to communicate financial intelligence. A classic example is how money mirrors electricity. We all know that electricity is everywhere. Electricity can be generated from different sources, from the sun, from the moon. Sometimes the physical bodies of humans discharge electrical currents. You touch the doorknob of a door of a house, you get some electrostatic charges. Sometimes your clothes, contain electricity in them, and just like you can literally, harness electric charges, literally from every scope of human existence. So also money, I can boldly say, is everywhere. Money is everywhere like electricity. Money literally, can be found, in every aspect of human endeavors. And once we gain knowledge of how to harness such money that exists around us, we would be able to take advantage of it and achieve the results that we desire. Now, money is, physics of money, is centered around the laws of physics as it relates to money. One of the core characteristics of money is the fact that money moves. We all know that money possesses the attribute of motion, and it's always moving. The money that is in your hand right now will very likely move before the end of today. And as a result of that, and as a result of the moving characteristics of money, money obeys Isaac Newton's laws of motion in physics. The rate at which money moves from you is proportional to several factors. Isaac Newton propounded several laws in physics. And one of those laws which Isaac Newton propounded is the fact that every object remains in a state of rest or uniform motion except acted upon by an external force. In money terms, you will note that the money that is in your hand right now will remain on that level or even reduce except you do something to either increase it, and take it to the level you want it to be. Now, Isaac Newton's law of motion first law of motion is one of the key principles that everybody is subjected to every day, that many people do not take advantage of in a constructive manner. Isaac Newton simply said that, look, every object will remain in a state of rest, or in a uniform motion, except something moves it. And financially speaking, the money that is in your hands right now will remain on that level unless you do something to move that money from the level on which it is to a higher level. and your level of income will remain at a particular level. You can cry, you can do so many things, in the context of complaining. It will not change the volume of money that you make right now, except you recognize that money obeys Isaac Newton's law of motion. And one of those laws is that every object remains in a state of rest or uniform motion except acted upon by an external force. That simply means that unless you do something, you apply what I call legal force to move the money that is not in your hands right now, you may find out that you remain on the same level financially, for a very long time. Sometimes many of us as Christians, we spend a lot of time crying and complaining, and talking about the money that we do not have. And we fail to realize that if a cup is on the table and you want that cup to move from the table, let's say, into your kitchen, you will need to get up and move that cup from the table into your kitchen. The same thing applies with money. The money that is not in your hands right now is waiting to come into your hands. But for that money to come into your hands, you will need to literally take the necessary step to move that money into your hands. Isaac Newton also said in his second law of motion that the rate at which money moves towards you is directly proportional to the force, that it's being applied to move that money towards you. I'm not going to give you so many of the laws of physics because I just want to deal with the financial aspect of what we want to talk about today, and that is the fact that the rate at which money moves towards you is directly proportional to the amount of potential which you both possess and are willing to apply in moving such monies towards you. Right now, your total money force is what determines the rate at which money moves towards you. In physics, there's a formula called, F is equal to mass times velocity, and the velocity there is a function of time and money. Let me see if I can share the slide with you so that you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, I'll just continue. I think I'm unable to share the slide because I'm not going to give you so many of so the laws of in money terms, the rate at which money moves to you is proportional to the potential that you have at your disposal. Your potential to attract money, your potential to move money, your potential, which I'm going to break down a little bit into several facets of your life. But before I do that, I'm going to quickly talk about the fact that still on the physics of money, that Isaac Newton propounded, well, this is not Isaac Newton, there's a law in physics called Ohm's law. That law, states that the current that flows from point A to point B is directly proportional to the voltage across those 2 points where resistance is constant. And the formula for that is V equal to IR, in physics. Now, that's a very important formula that controls the movement of currents from point A to point B. Now, in monetary terms, it simply states that resistance is a constant of proportionality for everybody. There's a resistance to the movement of money. Money that is in the hands of somebody is not willing to move to your hands. For that money to move into your hands, you will need to have a potential difference. There must be something you have which stands for your potential that will give you an edge and a basis for which the money that is not in your hands can move into your hands. What are we trying to say? We are trying to say that the volume of money that comes to you is directly proportional to the potential that you have and the potential that is on display. Resistance is constant. From point A to where resistance is constant. And when we talk about resistance, you're going to find that there's always, the resistance to the movement of money. If you have a need and you go to somebody and you try to ask the person for money, the person wants to ask you 1,000 questions. There's that natural resistance. And sometimes it looks as if the resistance is designed to hinder you. But it's simply obeying the Ohm's law of electrical circuit. Now, one of the aspects of the physics of money, is based on the fact that money is like electricity to your hands. Electricity does not flow in a wire. Electricity flows in what we call closed circuits. In the same way, money does not flow in the wire. You can't really pick up any significant amount of money on the road. All the money, like electricity, are closely insulated. If you see an electrical wire, that is naked, immediately you want to quickly insulate it. You know why? Because you know that electricity is supposed to flow in the wild. In the same way, money does not flow in the wild. Most times, people hide their money in their wallets. It's hidden in bank accounts. You know what brings money out is what we call potential difference. And the movement of electricity, it does not just flow in the wild; it flows in circuits. Similarly, money only flows into the lives of people who come into what I call money circuits. In other words, you must have a product which you have, which can solve a problem. You must have a potential which gives you an edge over the people, the next door neighbor beside you, in whose hands the money you need may lie. I found that one common occurrence, and that is the fact that when people cry and say they are broke, the truth is that it may just be only you that is broke. The money you need to solve your problems is actually in the hands of your next door neighbor. That money is in the hands of your colleague. The money you need to change your situation right now is not far from you. Money is very close to you. But the challenge is how to get that money out of the pockets or wallets of the people which lose those money, wallets those money are. And the simple secret is that for you to move any significant amount of money, there must be a potential difference between you and the person from whose hands you intend for that money to move. And when we're talking about these things, the essence of all this conversation is to make us understand the fact that money simply obeys rules. And these rules that money obey, if you apply them strictly into your life, you will definitely be able to increase your financial flow and increase the amount of money that you make, you know, in your life. If you measure what you earn every month, you're going to find out that it's proportional to how much potential you are applying. For instance, if you are on a job and you are being paid, let's say 300,000 every month, now you are investing 8 hours on that job. That 8 hours, so to speak, is earning you 300,000. Now, that is what your company is willing to pay you, because that is their evaluation of your potential. Your potential to attract money in that case is only able to attract 300,000. If you are going to increase your income, then you will need to do something about your capacity to attract money over that given amount of time invested. In physics of money, there is what we call financial distance. Financial distance is a measure of how much money you are able to make within a given amount of time. If you invest 8 hours every day, and in 20 working days in a month, you earn 300,000, then it implies that your financial distance is equal to, your financial distance over 160 hours in a month is 300,000. In other words, you know, what people are willing to pay you for every 1 hour that you invest, you know, is a fraction of 300,000. If you are going to increase the volume of money that you make, you will need to do something about the amount of money that you make over time. Just like in physics, we measure distance by speed. We measure distance in how fast you can travel over time. It also applies to finances. Financial distance, the financial distance you are able to attain is a measure of how much you are able to accomplish between every given minute that passes by. One of the biggest potentials that God has given to every man is the time potential. But unfortunately, a lot of people waste their time. They are unable to use their time effectively, and they have no wisdom of how to apply their time in order for them to be able to make more money. And we are invariably saying that if financial situation will change, you will need to do something about amplifying what you do with your time and achieving more financial dividends with every hour that you have. And in order for you to increase your potential, you must understand that there are different types of potential. There is your time potential. Your time potential is your capacity to deliver over time. And that is what determines what people are willing to pay you. And your level of academic qualification, your level of technical skills, they all contribute to your time potential and the willingness of people to pay you if you are the type of person who is a time seller. There are two categories of people on planet Earth. There are time sellers and time buyers. Who are time sellers? A time seller is that man or that woman who sells his time to a company. He sells 8 hours every day by going to work. Every day he goes to work for 8 hours, and at the end of the month, he's giving a particular salary. That person is a time seller. Most people are time sellers. And I found out that the disadvantage of being a time seller is that you do not have control over your total income over the invested time that you make. But there are also those that are called time buyers. Who are time buyers? Time buyers are business owners. They are people who start companies. They are people who start corporations, and then they employ people to work in their companies. By so doing, they are technically buying 8 hours from the people they employ, and they use their own 8 hours to manage the 8 hours they buy from every employee. For example, if I, as an employee, if I start a company, I have only 8 hours in a day for working. Every one of us has 8 effective working hours every day. Now, if I start a company and I employ 10 of you, then what I have done is that I have multiplied my time and my time potential by employing 10 of you. So I buy 8 times 10 of you, which is 80 hours. And effectively, I have 80 hours to run my business and increase my productivity. And by so doing, I use my 8 hours to manage your 80 hours. So effectively, a time buyer has more time at his disposal because he's using other people's time to create value. And you must understand, brothers and sisters, that all forms of movement of money is dependent on the existence of value. Where there is no value, money cannot move. And money moves by the creation of value. What value you can create, what product you can create within time is what determines how money moves to you. Many of us today, during this lockdown period are sitting at home. We have abundance of time. I want to motivate you. That time you can convert it to something of value which you can trade with. One advantage of being a time buyer and not just a time seller is that time is limited. Time is an irreplaceable product. Everybody has only 24 hours every day. But wise people, financially intelligent people know that in order for you to perpetuate time, you need to convert the time you have into products that can multiply. For instance, if you spend your time buying a product or spend your time creating a product, whether it is manufacturing anything, or let's say you are into pastries and you're making cake, or you are into production of any product. Now, the time you invest in creating that product, as long as that product exists, that time is perpetuated. That time continues to exist. For instance, if you spend time writing a book, the time you invest in writing that book automatically is perpetuated. And if the book is a commercial book, you can continuously sell the book for the rest of your life. The same thing it is with creating any type of product or establishing a business. By establishing a business, you perpetuate time. But if you only sell your time by going to work every week and you just work for your company and all you get out of the investment of that time, is your salary at the end of the month, then you have not effectively used your time and you have not operated in the principles of financial intelligence. Because the day you lose your job, at the end of the day you lose your job, it becomes obvious to you that you have nothing to fall back on because you have invested so much time. But the investment of time is in such a way that you cannot perpetuate it. So it is important to understand that if you are going to measure your financial distance, you need to be smart in the application of time. And in physics, distance is a measure of how fast you travel over a given amount of time. So we're talking about physics of money, and we're bringing all these laws into, from physics to explain to you that money is not, so to speak, a rocket science. For instance, if you're going to have let's say, you know, a product. We all use different electrical products. We have telephones which use electricity. We have television which uses electricity. We have, some of us are sitting down right now in front of a computer, and all of that uses electricity, you know, and you have different devices that use electricity. Now, all of the devices that use electricity, most of those devices were created for a purpose. They were created to solve a problem. They were created to meet a need. Our telephones were created so that we can communicate effectively. And all of those devices that were created, they have all become what I call platforms for electricity to flow legally. Electricity does not flow in the wild. You all know that. If a lightning strikes you during the day, a lightning strike, for instance, is an electrical discharge that is in the wild. It could kill. It is very deadly. All forms of movement of electricity is protected and securely, you know, insulated because of its nature. In the same way, money behaves that way. Money does not flow in the wild. You can't get a lot of money by begging. You can't get a lot of money, you know, just by sitting around. For money, you know, everybody protects their money. We hide our money in our bank accounts. Even when people have needs, we pretend as though we don't have. Sometimes when you are very broke, it looks like everybody's broke like you. But the truth is that you may be the only one that's broke. The person beside you is not broke like you are. Why is it that money is so hidden and is so highly protected? It is because money mirrors electricity in physics. The electricity that is insulated, it's not insulated because it's not supposed to move around. It is insulated because it is only supposed to move through what are called electrical circuits. So also, money is insulated, is hidden, because it is only supposed to move through what I call money circuits. What is a money circuit? A money circuit is simply a summary of the path in which money moves. Money goes from your hand to your food seller, from your food seller, it goes to the bank, from the bank, it goes, let's say, to the petrol dealers, from the petrol dealers, it goes to where they buy petrol, from the petrol, it comes, you know, back to you when you go to buy your petrol, and from there, it goes back to the bank, you know, and you notice that all of these parts that money moves, if you do not come into any of the parts in which money moves, you may find yourself being in such a financial difficulty. You could cry, you could come to us as your pastors and say, Pastor, pray for me. I have financial problem. I'm facing financial resistance. I want to say to you that according to Ohm's law in electrical circuits, resistance is a constant of proportionality. The fact that you are facing financial resistance now is a proof that money can move to you. It's not a reason for you to cry. Without resistance, electricity does not flow, because any circuit that is open, the resistance in an open circuit is infinite. It is too large that electricity cannot flow. For electricity to flow, there must be regulated resistance. Now, that is the reason why you are facing financial resistance. Anybody that faces financial resistance, the reason for that resistance is to release your potential. In physics, in the law, in Ohm's law in physics, I'll just tell you the law because I cannot show you my slide. The law is simply that voltage is directly proportional to current, where resistance is constant. Resistance is constant for everybody. Everybody faces financial challenges. The problem with most people is that they think that because of the resistance that they are facing, money will not flow, where money in this context stands for the I in the Ohm's law equation. Now, Ohm's law equation is V, which is voltage, equal to IR, where I is the current and R is the resistance and V is the potential. In physics, if you want current to flow from point A to B, you do not cry about the resistance. You don't complain about the resistance. What you simply do is you increase the V, you increase the potential. Once the potential increases, then the current will start flowing through the resistance. And I'm saying to you today that if you are facing financial resistance, what you need is not crying. What you need is not complaining. What you need is to look at your financial resistance. What are the things you need to do to increase your capacity to earn. And one of the things you can do is that you can start your own business. If you don't own a business right now, you can start your own business. If you currently own a business, you can actually look at how you can improve on your current business through innovation. Think of innovative ways of doing what you do. Think of different avenues of selling your product so that you can increase the volume of product that you are selling. Potential can be increased. If you are working in an office right now, you can multitask over time. If you're selling 8 hours to your company, you can think of other products you can sell within the 8 hours, such that your potential, your time potential can increase. If your academic qualification right now is only at a level that doesn't allow you to earn more, and there are people earning more in your office because they are more academically qualified, what you need to do is think of how to go back to school, increase your potential, academically. And if you do not have anything at all to do, what you need to do right now is find something to sell. Find a product to sell. Money moves by the sales of goods and services. Other speakers are going to talk to us about, so many other things which we can, that we can apply for money to start moving towards us. But you must understand that everybody sells something. The whole universe runs on sales of goods and services. Everybody is a salesman. So if the money you are making now is not enough, what you need to look at is, what more can I sell in addition to what I am currently selling? If you are a salary earner, you are a time seller. That's what you are. Well, you may say, well, no, but I'm an accountant. Yes, you are an accountant. You are selling 8 hours to your company and they pay you at the end of the month. A medical doctor who works in a hospital, yes, he may call himself a medical doctor, but he's actually selling his time. All the time he's on call, he's selling that time. The policemen that are performing protection on the streets, they are also time sellers. They are selling their time, and the government pays them through their salaries. Everybody is a time seller. In the entire scope of human existence, financial distance is a measure of sale of time. And I want to motivate you to think of what more you can sell within the time that you have right now. And as you do, you will be able to increase your financial potential, your time potential, and you'll be able to earn more money. Don't sit at home doing nothing. Every minute that passes by is a waste of resources. And I want you to know that it is very important for you to do that. And, as you do, you will be able to, to take your finances to the next level. Okay, well, my time is almost up, and I've only just been given access now to be able to share my slide. But just as a summary, as I round up, just as a summary, as I round up, I was talking about Ohm's law, and this is simply what Ohm's law looks like. It's simply that V equal to IR, where V is your potential, I is current, R is resistance. And the I in this context stands for money. And the way it works is this: if you want your money to increase, you cannot do anything about resistance. There's resistance, there's financial burdens, rent to pay, school fees to pay, petrol for your car. You have all forms of expenditure that you must make every month. They all stand for R in Ohm's law of proportionality in terms of resistance. There's nothing you can do about resistance. As long as you live, you will always have challenges, things you want to do in terms of bills to pay. It is not because the devil is after you. I know all of us, a lot of people have a way of thinking that, oh, the devil is against me, the devil is stopping my finances. No, the devil is not stopping your finances in any way. What the challenge lies is in the V. The V is your potential. If your potential is zero, the I will be zero. The current there stands for money. You will not have money. You can cry and fast and pray from now till next week. What you need to do is to do something about your potential. God in the scripture established a law for the movement of money in the book of Deuteronomy. God told the children of Israel, he said to them, in the wilderness, the Edomites will not give you water for free. God said to them, If they will get water from the Edomites, then they must buy water from the Edomites for money. If the Edomites will get money from the children of Israel, the children of Israel must have, the Edomites must have water to sell to the children of Israel. In other words, you must have a potential, you must have something. Even in the book of 2 Kings chapter number 6, the Bible tells us, I think my time is up, as I round up now in the next 1 minute, the Bible tells us that there was a woman that cried to Elisha. That woman was and the Bible says she had a pot of oil in her house. And that pot of oil was lying down doing nothing. That was her potential. But she was in financial difficulties. And she cried to the man of God. And the man of God said, look, madam, what do you have in the house? You must have a potential. And the man of God taught the woman, he said, look, convert your oil, package your oil, put your oil in bottles and start selling your oil, because money moves through the sales of goods and services. And as I round up, brothers and sisters, money moves. Money moves, and because money moves, it obeys all Isaac Newton's laws of motion. The money that is in your hands right now will only move into your hand if you do something to move it into your hands legally. And the way to do so is to apply your potential in the sales of goods and services. Well, I think I should stop there. 20 minutes. It's already gone. What do you have in the Pastor, over to you. Have a potential. And the man of God taught the woman, he said, look, convert your oil, package your oil, put your oil in bottles and start selling your oil, because money moves through the sales of goods and services.
For this wonderful presentation,
brothers and sisters,
money moves, and it obeys the law of motion. This is really, really a great one. I saw some wonderful things that I'm trying to put down here, and I know we will come back there. Thank you so much, sir. We are really grateful and very sorry you couldn't share the presentation, the slide earlier than now. Didn't know when something click off, and we're trying to sort it out. But I think we are good now. Thank you so much. So we will move to the next speaker. We have Dr. Okay, you prefer to be called Lulu Okufora, PhD, Dr. Lulu Okufora. And like I have said before, these three facilitators we have today have been coming for a long time. Do you understand this scientific way of running with money? And this afternoon, Dr. Olu Ogufora will be speaking to us on impact investing. Please welcome with me, Dr. Olu Ogufora.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. I'm not sure whether you can see my slides. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, I'm trying to adjust it here. All right, I'm going to build up on what Pastor Emmanuel already talked about. The only difference I'm going to add to it really is I'm going to start with us looking at evolution of money, and also see money as exchange of value. Then we're going to talk about value creation, and that is in line with what Pastor Emmanuel also talked about in terms of potential difference. But I'm just going to get us to see the connection between the science and the physics of money that Pastor Emmanuel talked about, and also using biblical principles for wealth creation, which is now linked to impact investing, as we'll see in the slides that I'm going to take us through. So value creation, all the problems that are around social and environmental issues are all encapsulated in what we know now as the Sustainable Development Goals. So I'm going to get us to see those sectors within the SDGs and how these sectors are actually key sectors that impact investors are also focusing on. Then I'm going to wrap it up by letting us know the current situation we are in right now in terms of COVID-19 and the sectors that are not affected. And these are the sectors that impact investors have always been saying that we should focus on. So that way we can now draw insight in terms of creating value, I'm not sure appropriating value, storing value, and at the end of the day, getting that value to last for generations to come. So I would use the analogy of money as a value. And the reason why I say so really is that if you go back in history, before the advent of money, what we had was trade by barter, right? And with trade by barter, what that means is that every individual has something to offer. Either you are a farmer, or you are a hunter, or you are skilled at using your hands to develop poetry, or maybe you are a singer, whatever skills or talent that God has given to you. And what that means really is that somebody needs what you have with us, right? And you want to exchange what you have with somebody else. Money. So the question then really is the evolution. People move from a barter system. Then, in terms of the exchange, they started using cowrie shells. From cowrie shells, we went to coins. And that shows that the money as a value start moving from the creating the value, you exchange it with someone else, you appropriate it, that is, you make it larger. And then you have to decide how you want to store that value. So sometimes really, even in financial services, and I think the next speaker will talk more about this in terms of time value of money. So the question really is that how do you store that value in such a way that it does not depreciate? Could it be in form of gold standard or what people are talking about right now in terms of cryptocurrency? It's all about you store it in such a way that you want to preserve that value for generation to come. Then getting back to the whole concept of creating value. How do you create value? Do you invest in a revenue generating asset for cash flow? Like for instance, now you can buy a business or invest in a business that is generating cash. The cash that is generated from that business, store it to increase the value over time. Or you invest in assets that create value and appreciate in the long term. Some people will say, oh, I've made this so much money, I want to put it in real estate. I want to buy land so that in the long term, it will increase in value. Or you want to put it in the stock market to increase in value over time. However, other people might say, I want to take this money that I have, I want to invest it in a business, start a business to solve a problem, to create value that somebody else will need, and also to preserve that value over a long term, which is the sustainability part of what I'm going to tell us about. In 2015, the United Nations looked at all the various problems that we have, which is like emanating, initially was meant to be focused on developing countries, looking at Millennium Development Goals. But this transition into what you now call SDGs. And the SDGs are ways that to address all the social issues, economic issues, and environmental issues in a sustainable manner. So you have 17 goals that have been clearly articulated and agreed by a lot of countries who are signatory to the United Nations. So you have no poverty, zero hunger, good health, that's SG3. I'm not going to go into the details of this, but I want you to follow the storyline that I'm building on this. So with the SDGs, you know that these are the areas that across everywhere, these are the issues to solve. So the question then really is that how can I create value to others that are hungry? Can I set up an agribusiness to feed the people that are hungry? People require education. How can I create value such that it can deploy a means to teach 1 billion people online? Or how can I create value when you talk about water and sanitation? People don't have access to clean water. Can I turn the fact that I want to provide water to people as a business? We'll see all of this, and the whole R is linked to the concept of impact investing. So, in terms of wealth creation, really, wealth creation, like I'm trying to build you in terms of if you follow the storyline, I mean, from an academic point of view, really, you build an argument and get people to see the linkage. So that means that if we look at what I've explained earlier in terms of value creation, value exchange, value appropriation, and value storage. These are the steps for creating wealth. And you start with savings, whatever little you have, which you are creating value, either individually or as a trust. And if you're able to gather in terms of substantial value, you can see, you want to invest in a particular asset, or you want to invest in a business, either startups, small or medium enterprise. Then the problem that we have in Africa, or especially in Nigeria, a lot of our old generation people have not been able to take the third step, which is building generational wealth through philanthropy. And this is actually, I will show you the scriptural basis for this third part, really, which is philanthropy is embedded in scriptures. You doing good in arts. How Jesus Christ was anointed, who went about doing good. And if you look at the examples that I've indicated on the slides of these global foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, Ford Foundation, Gates Foundation, Skoll Foundation, Ashoka Foundation, these are philanthropies that have been able to understand some spiritual principle. Rockefeller was, as far back as the early 90s, one of the wealthiest individuals. But everybody still talk about Rockefeller today, not knowing that it was at one time, right, the owner of what is today called Chevron Oil. Ford Foundation, we know about Ford Motors, right? So these people have been able to build a generational wealth that has been transferred to the next generation. And now, before I go into this, let me just tell you the principles of doing good and how it is now linked to impact investing. Now, wealth creation is spiritual. Even either in the Bible, in Islam, in the Quran, or whatever ways some other people want to go about it. And these are laws that needs to be obeyed, right? That knowledge and power is from God. And most times, really, if you look at within the Islamic Bible, really, there is an emphasis on doing good, community development, and what the Muslim calls zakat. And it might interest you to know that in Islam, people rarely lend money for interest, but they partner on a business and share profit. Now, I've used that example really to let us understand that these are also embedded in scriptures. Then the key thing really is that how do we now apply these principles of being faithful with the little and trusting God for multiplication? If you looked at Psalm 1 verse 3, it talked about, blessed is the man really who walks not in the foot of the unjustly, because you are bound to prosper, right, if you follow certain principles. Then also as believers, really, we need to take action Once we have the knowledge from God, we have the faith that the next step really is taking action to creating wealth, either to work or start a business. Then, of course, the other principles which I talked about earlier, save early, invest for the future, are also embedded on the Bible. If you look at the parable of the talents, or in Luke, when he talked about the parable of the miners, the man gave 10 talents, 5 talents, and 1 talent to the servants, and he went away. He came back only to realize that the one with 1 talent just kept it somewhere. And what master said, oh, you should have just kept it in a bank to earn some interest. That is, that particular servant was not following some principle of investing or being able to transform the little you have into more. Now, how do all of this link to impact investing? Impact investing is when you invest with the intentionality of creating positive impact that is measurable alongside financial returns. It is different from charity. It is different from for-profit enterprise, but it is at the middle ground that is also biblical, combining doing good and doing well. If you look at where Jesus Christ said, okay, I was hungry, you did not feed me. So the question there really is, as an impact investor, how can you now feed people and at the same time make it profitable? Or people that are homeless, how can you provide housing for them and make it profitable? So these are the principles that you can apply when we now talk about impact investing. And it might be interesting to know that this is the direction in which the world is moving towards right now. For-profit enterprises, we talked about ESG. For them to incorporate social, is not just about CSR, but also about sustainability within the business model, such that you can have a triple bottom line, which means you are accounting for profit, you are accounting for social, and you're also accounting for environmental issues. And if you look at from the non-profit point of view, most non-profit will rely on grants or donations or charity. But the question then really is that when there is no more grants, when you don't have donation, what do? That means you will not be able to make the required impact in which you've set out to do. Then the impact investing mindset, that is actually possible to solve these problems using a business approach. And it's actually interesting that these are some principles that are actually part of the economic system. And I'll give you an example. C.K. Prahalad wrote a book, Fortune at the Bottom of the Pyramid, Eradicating Poverty Through Profits. And Mo Ibrahim said something, Africa is a wonderful place to really make money. We have 1 billion hungry people for everything. And a typical example, telecom in Nigeria, as at year 2000, the liberalization started in 1999 when the licenses were issued. MTN, as at that time, came into Nigeria and they designed their network for maybe 400,000 people, because in their mindset, they were hoping that people at the top of the pyramid will be their market, only for them to realize that there are actually a lot of people that require the same service at the bottom of the pyramid. What exactly did they now do? You will find out that initially to recharge your phone, maybe they had 1,500 Naira recharge card, but now you can recharge for as little as 100 Naira. I was privileged to work in MTN in the early days. And it might interest you to know that where the bulk of the revenue of MTN were coming from were at the bottom of the pyramid, because these are the people that probably earn money on a daily basis, but the money they earn, they use it to buy a product or buy a service that they need. So you as an impact investor, if you see this tier 5 as a market that require the same service as in the tier 1, tier 2, in the top of the middle of the pyramid. So the question then really is that how do you put on your innovative mindset or innovative idea to design products or services that will create value that this tier 4, tier 5 market can afford? And if you look at the key sectors that I mentioned earlier, which is also linked to doing good, you talked about affordable housing. You're trying to solve the housing problem in Africa. You talk about clean water. A lot of people don't have access to clean water, but it can be done as a business. And if you put money in the hands of tier 4, tier 5, they can afford it. The same thing with education, with healthcare, microfinance, microinsurance. There is a company called Leapfrog Investments. They invest in the bottom of the pyramid to provide them with healthcare insurance. Unlike people paying premium on a monthly basis, you pay on a daily basis. So the cost is less, but the business is making money, is also solving the problem of providing insurance to the poor. Then I've talked about the sector focus. I'm not going to go back onto that again. Now, how big is the market we're talking about? Globally, the group of investors that started this idea of impact investing is actually from Rockefeller Foundation. Like I said to you earlier on, John D. Rockefeller was one of the wealthiest person in his time. He thought it appropriate to build a generational wealth through his foundation, and the Rockefeller Foundation is investing in long-term in agribusiness, in areas that typically there's a market and government failure. But now, other institutional investors are joining the impact investing movement. That is to say, you don't have to be a billionaire before you become an impact investor. All you need really is to have an innovative mindset and a desire to solve this problem in a business-like manner. So they've estimated that the impact investing market size globally is going to be worth $12 trillion by 2030, because it's been tied to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, which is the achievement of these goals by the year 2030. So I've talked about the global organizations because it's a movement that is growing, and you have a lot of organizations, commercial investment firms, foundation. So it cut across non-profit and also for-profit to become impact investor. Then case studies of cases in Africa, I've mentioned to you about the example of Leapfrog Investments. There is another organization called Root Capital. They invest in agribusiness. If you, for instance, now you want to start a smallholder farmer, funding is actually readily available. But the challenge right now is that businesses, the impact investors are looking for the businesses or the social entrepreneur that's going to make this happen. So in essence, really is that it is within our power to figure out how to use a business approach to solve some of these problems. Then in Nigeria, I've been able to pull out some of the what organizations are doing to drive this space. The movement that started in the last 3-5 years, a lot of organizations are adopting the same commercial principles to solve the social problem. You have Baba Gona based in the north of the country, supporting and empowering the smallholder farmers. You know about Farm Crowdy, using the crowd technology platform to put funds together to support smallholder farmers. And there is Fido Water in Bayelsa. This is actually an interesting case, really, for those of you who've been to Bayelsa. despite the fact that Bayelsa is one of the areas in which we have massive oil, there is little or no clean water in Bayelsa State because of the pollution. So the founder of Fido Water, who also happens to be alumni from Ife, thought it smart to provide the community with water in a sustainable manner. So what business to run? Water. Now there is COVID-19, all businesses are shut down, everybody is buying water. So you're solving the problem and is also creating wealth. Then you talked about all on solar energy. We talked about no power, no electricity in most parts of Nigeria, and we have sunlight. Why not convert sun energy to electricity and get this to be installed in rural communities? We've got a lot of investors that are looking for businesses that will go and install solar panel in rural communities. You have LifeBank. You have using technology to intervene in the healthcare sector. You have telemedicine. Recently, Lagos State recently started telemedicine because everybody is on lockdown right now. You can't go out, but you need these essential services. So that is how technology is playing a good role. Then, of course, really, if you want to read further, there is a report by the Impact Investors Foundation, which is initiated by Ford Foundation with Capital Alliance in Nigeria. And they've also partnered with Dalbaj. Dalbaj is an organization that provides advisory services for development in emerging countries. So this report has in terms of where the funds are, and those funds are looking for businesses to invest in. So sometimes really you can see that from a point of value, people who have been able to have a store of value looking at what businesses to really put money into so that those businesses can also provide value to the bottom of the pyramid. So the last slide before I end up my presentation, I think I'm looking at my time right now. So I mentioned this earlier. If you look at what is happening right now in terms of COVID-19, we all talked about being locked down. We can do what we would normally want to do. This is a typical example of a slide that I just pull up at the last minute. Now everybody's complaining the travel industry is down in terms of aviation, in terms of entertainment. We can go to salon, we can go to beauty, but in all of this, we need to eat, we need water, we need pharmacy. These are the industry that will stand the test of time. Then you ask yourself, why are people not putting a business cap on to solve these problems, knowing fully well that this is all that matters in the end anyway? So I will stop right here. And in case you have any question, really, we talked about that. This is what Agianess is all about. I can answer your questions around deploying impact investing approach to solving some of the problems that we have across. Then I hope during the Q&A, if you have any question, I look forward to providing more insight. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Onyogufora. This is getting interesting. So you can do good and do well and still make money. And then it surprises us. You say so many businesses, big businesses make more of their money from the bottom of the pyramid because these people do they are into need investments. So there's a lot of money there. So you mentioned some businesses that are not suffer even in this COVID-19. People will drink money and drink water. That will be need for drugs. So thank you, sir. We'll come back. There are so many questions coming up, but we'll come back to
Thank you. We want to go now to the third speaker. I want to thank God that God is making us to have this happen. Mr. Shegun Fadanti will be speaking to us now. I must mention that apart from that, the three of them are from the same school. Mr. Shegun Fadanti actually make it easy for us to be able to connect with Dr. Ura and Pastor Emmanuel. But we're so grateful that they come. The three of them are doing this to just bless humanity. This is free to help all of us. And we want to really thank you for it. He will be on now to talk on personal financial tips on how to grow your money.
Okay. Thank you very much, Pastor Sam. I want to appreciate the organizers of this seminar, CCGD Hub, and the lead pastor, and also my dear Pastor Emmanuel Ogbeche, our pastor since Ife, and Dr. Olu Ogunfowola, not just best in technology, but best graduating student in Ife. We were all in the same class in Ife. We thank God that we're still together today and we're all in the Lord. Thank you. And I want to appreciate the audience also, everybody that is here. We really thank you for coming. Thank you very much. So I have the easiest job to do. I'm supposed to share on personal financial tips, how to grow your money. So my job is the easiest. You can't challenge me too much. You can ask me questions because this is my own, this is what has worked for me that I want to share with you. So I just hope that you pick one or two things, and I'll be making copious reference. Someone has started sharing and has removed my screen. Okay, so I will make copious reference to some things that have been said before. Thank you very much. So I'll be presenting on the subject personal financial tips, how to grow your money. My outline, I'll talk to you basically in 6 slides. I'll give you a preamble, mostly scriptural. I'll tell you some basic principles that I've noted. I'm going to introduce the SIR model, SIR model. I will talk to you about the unit of money concept. Then I will bring everything on before I conclude. By way of preamble or background or spiritual context, before I move on, I must set a strong context that God owns everything, no matter what we're telling you here today. Without God, you can't achieve much. God owns everything. Psalm 24 verse 1, the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof. So you have to always have that at the back of your mind. And God has put everything at your disposal. God has put everything at the disposal of each and every one of us. 2 Peter 1:3, according as his divine power has given all that pertains to life and godliness. So everything is at your disposal. So God is playing his part. God has provided an equal playing field. Matthew 5:45a, your Father in heaven, he makes the sun and the rain to fall both on the just and the unjust. And in Romans 12, it says there's no partiality with God. God will bless the works of your hand. Deuteronomy 28:12 talks about the works you do, he will bless it. And Dr. Ogunfowola referred to Psalm 1:3d. He says, whatever he touch will prosper. So it's the works of your hand. If there's no work in your hand, there will be nothing for God to bless. God is the one that gives understanding and power to get wealth. Pastor Emmanuel made reference to that, and Dr. Ogunfowola, and it's clear in Deuteronomy 8:18. So God has done all his own, those first 5. But you now, that's why we're doing this, you have to arise and go. Financial management, growing your money is an intentional thing. We have to arise and go. God told the prophet, you have to arise, go to that brook, tell it. There I've commanded XYZ. In 8 to 9 also, say go to a widow. He's going to feed you. You have to arise and go. Proverbs 12:27 talks about the lazy man does not lose what he took in hunting. Because the lazy man does not arise and go, he just sits still and keeps making complaints. So I'm setting this background for you that God is very strong in all this, and he has done his part. And while we're doing this seminar, what I'm bringing to you is that you have to do your part. Okay, now basic principles. I'm just telling you about what has worked for me. Basic principle: money will ordinarily diminish in value. If I bring in what Pastor Emmanuel was talking about, the ohmic law, this is what I will relate to as resistance. I'm going to take resistance to mean all those expenses. You have to pay those school fees and co. He had said that maybe you can't have things, you can't influence that, but I'm saying you can influence. You have to influence your expenses. You have to cut your coat. Money will ordinarily diminish in value if you don't do anything to it. If you just allow money to be in your pocket or to sit somewhere, it will be diminishing in value. You are going to spend it. Inflation is going to overtake it. What 1 naira can buy last week or 100 naira can buy 10 years ago is not what 100 naira can buy today. So money will ordinarily diminish. You have to know that principle. Growing money is an intentional act. I promise you, Pastor Emmanuel again referred to potentials. That's what I'm going to call revenues. And for you to grow your revenue, like he said, you have to increase your potential. You have to plan. You have to seek knowledge. If you have to get more degrees, you have to seek information. What happens in the stock market? What happens in the money market? Where should I invest now? Growing money is an intentional act, and it talks about increasing your potential, relating to what he has said. Both our earlier speaker mentioned about the concept of value and flows. Money growth is in flows. The Bible says, cast your bread upon the waters, and after many days, you get it back. I tell you, money that is in your pocket, that is static. That parable of talent that doctor referred to, he went to hide money. Static money is useless. You have to let money move. You have to let it act. Very important. I'm just laying the principles. And then finally, in laying the principles, you must note that review, monitoring all these things I've said, monitoring what you are doing is very important because it reinforces growth. Because you are going to learn lessons. In my organization, we call it lessons learned. You have to talk about lessons learned. So you are going to learn lessons that will make you better. I bought MTN shares this week. I like to make 1% every day investing in stock, just 1%. I bought MTN this week, and I exited just making 100,000 profit in one day. So every day if I make 100,000 profit, you know what it be. So, but I made an error. So reviewing my activity will let me know the error I made, and to correct going forward. So note those basic principles as we move ahead. So I move on to the STAR model. You know, I'm telling you what has worked for me. You know, in the previous slide, we're talking about expenses. When you don't curtail your expenses, you cannot have something left. And when you don't have something left, you cannot save. S in the SAM model is savings. That's the lowest form or approach to growing your money. Savings. You need to know what they call interest rate. What is the interest rate? What is it doing now? Is it at 2%? Is it at 15%? Should I invest in government bills like treasury bills? Or should I just keep my money in savings account? Or should I just convert my money to dollars or pounds and keep it expecting a devaluation? The SAM model, if you must grow your money, you must develop the habit of savings. Very important. When this basic one is not there, there's nothing you can do. You cannot take opportunity, whether short term or long term. Now, the I in the SAM model is invest. You know, you have been saving, then you have to move on to a higher rung in the ladder. You have to consider the stock market in your respective countries. Are there opportunities to take in the stock market? So someone said that prices of stock or values have gone down to year low or 365 days low. Is it time to invest? Is it time to use the 50,000 naira or the 20,000 naira with you to buy the stock of a company that used to be 30 naira and is now 15? What about properties? You know, properties. Do you deal with land? What do you do? Do you deal with renters, etc.? What is in the general market that you can do? Is it face mask? People have been approaching me now, whether I can approach my organization to buy face mask from them. Everybody wants to sell face masks. Even me now, I know how to make face mask from handkerchief. I'm willing to sell also to you if you will kindly buy from me. So you have to save, you have to invest, and you have to reinvest. Reinvestment, it reinforces your money growth strategy. It gives you the flavor of short and long term, you know, whether you are just doing it for 360 days or 1 day like me, or whether you are doing it for a longer period. The investment allows you to diversify. You move on from this investment to another one, and it allows you to compound your return on investment. So that's the SAM model. You save, you invest, and reinvest. If I may stop a bit and relate it with what the pastor said under the physics of money, you know, you have to seek knowledge. How will you invest in something you don't know? How do you invest in the commodities market? And you can be looking at commodity as something very, very high up there. But I know people, even though this is a local commodity, that buy palm oil. They know when to buy palm oil. They put some money into palm oil, and they know when to sell palm oil. You know, I know people doing that business, and they make their profits and they go away. What we call chop and clean mouth. You know, so save, invest, reinvest. But backing this up are those principles I highlighted earlier. Strong among which is knowledge, which is information. You have to be versatile. I play a lot in the stock market, and I know that the buying commission, total commission when you buy a stock is 1.84%, including of everything. However, when you sell a stock, the total commission is 2.175%. So everything comes to 4.01. So if you buy something at 100 naira, your total cost is 104.0.1. And if you are going to make a profit at all, you must sell at a price that is more than that. You know, so the question now is that, are you content with taking a 20,000 daily margin on 1 million, or is it too small for you? So, but this SAM model writes a lot, I must emphasize on knowledge. I know that the lies a lot on knowledge. You know, so please know it. So for me, this SAM model is the sustainable way to grow your investment, to grow your money. And I said sustainable growth is in measurable and incremental steps. Measurable. You are not going to have 1 billion one day. You are not going to have 1 million one day. You are going to be having 50,000, 100,000, then 1 million, then one day 10 million, then etc. Measuring money like that, you are looking for a windfall. It will not be sustainable. So I just want to, because if I talk about the SAM model and I don't make something practical to you, it won't be good. So there's something called unit of money concept. And what that means is this: you must decide on your own, because a personal thing, that look, how much money must I have that I will save away? How much money must I have that I will spend? In 1997, when my monthly salary was 18,000, my unit of money was 1,000 naira. Let me tell you what it means. And I will use a good example. Let's assume that my unit of money today is 100,000. So this is what it means. If somehow I find myself having 41,000 naira, where my unit of money is 100,000 and I have 41,000, I'm likely to use that 41,000. I'm not going to invest it. I'm going to use it to sort out other needs that I have, not wasteful. I will sort out things I'm supposed to sort out. However, if I have 52,000, because the question I'm going to ask myself is that, is this money nearer 100,000 or nearer zero? That's the question. At 41,000, it is nearer zero than 100. So that's why I spent it. By the time I have 51,000, it's nearer 100. So I'm going to start looking for 49,000 to add to it to make it 100. So my investors, my investment advisors, people who keep my money, they already know. So a time deposit matures, and it is, let's say it is 2,079,000, where my unit of money is 100,000. They already know I'm going to add 29,000 or they're about to it, so that it become 2.1 million. And they know that if it matures and it is 2,041,000, they know that I'm going to ask them to credit me that 41,000, because I'm going to use it for some other things. You have to define your unit of money, and your unit of money will keep changing as you move up in life. When it used to be 1,000, it probably moved to 20,000, 25,000. It's somewhere today. So, but you have to set it, because it's going to give you focus around what to invest, what to save, and co. That's the concept of unit of money. I just wanted to bring it because it's something that has helped me personally. Moving on, putting everything together now, summarizing what I've said. I told you my own work is not too difficult. I'm sharing experience with you. What I've told you so far, that the strategy that has worked for me over the course of the past 23 years is that you have to put God first in your finances, because silver and gold, the gold is mine, the silver is mine, and the cattle upon 1,000 hills, everything belongs to God. So if you put God first, it's going to help you protect every other thing. The waster will not destroy, the destroyer will not waste your money. That's the concept of putting God first. And that's why we're doing this under this platform. The next thing is that you have to plan and curtail your expenses. For me, this is what I call the resistance part. Because if I go to Pastor Ohm's law, and I rearrange the equation, money will become potential over resistance. Potential over resistance. And if you want to increase your money, you will either, if you have something like that numerator by denominator, You will either increase your numerator, which is your potentials, which aligns with what it says, which is your earning capacity and co, or you are going to reduce your denominator, your expenses. If you're able to curtail your expenses, and I'm not asking anybody here to be stingy, the Bible says some people, they withhold more than is meet, and it tends to poverty. This is not about stinginess. This is about managing your expenses properly so that you can reduce the denominator, which is the resistance, so that you can grow your money. When you curtail your expenses, you are able to improve your unit of money concept. You are able to improve it, and you are able to save more and then implement the SIL model. Very important that you plan. I mean, you are going to pay school fees. You are going to do this, going to do this, going to do this. Why must you buy Ashwebi this year? Please, I want to beg everybody that is going to be doing any event, just call off for us. We are not buying any clothes again this year. Apologies if I've offended you. You just have to understand the realities. People should try and curtail their expenses. That is where everything starts from. Number 3 is that you have to seek knowledge. That is the potential, the numerator. You have to seek knowledge. What do you know? What do you know? Do you know about the stock market? All those things they write in the newspaper, do you know? What do you know about the property market? I know very little. I'm trying to learn. What do you know about the gear market? People approach you. We have an LPO to finance. Can you bring finances? etc. Do you know about it? What do you know about the company? Try and increase your knowledge. In starting this series, the lead pastor mentioned Proverbs 19 verse 2. For a soul to be without knowledge is not good. Knowledge is principal thing with wisdom. You have to seek knowledge. I mean, if money will flow towards your knowledge, because it's with that knowledge, you'll be able to manage it, you'll be able to maximize it. Very, very important knowledge. You have to define your unit of money. I have said a lot about that. Very important, because that's how you can start to save. You can keep something away. You will know that if your unit of money is 5,000, the Bible says you should not despise the days of little beginning. Your unit of money does not need to start from 10 billion or 100 million or 500,000. It can start from 1,000 like myself. And God will, as God blesses the work of your hand and you curtail your expenses and seek more knowledge, then you can increase your unit of money and your money will grow faster for you. And finally, you have to constantly implement the SIL model. Save, invest, and reinvest. Very important. In conclusion, I want to tell you again that you cannot leave your money to the vagaries of life. Well, we're on lockdown. They have increased the price of Gary. I hope you know the price of Gary has increased, like I think 2.5-fold or 3-fold. I mean, during this lockdown, they have increased this. I don't have control. They have done this and co. I don't have control. Take hold of it. Do something about it. You have to be intentional about your finances. Intentional means look at your expenses, what you are going to cut from your expenses, look at it, look at your revenue, what you have to do about it. Is when you consider these things. The Bible says, think on these things. That's intentional. And I leave you finally with this phrase. If you have knowledge, if you have wisdom, and you do not act, you do not do the things you have learned today. Pastor Emmanuel, use terms like money moves, potentials, financial distance, all those concepts, time sellers, etc. I like the kind of financial resistance, etc. If you don't act, if after this seminar you remain the same, you don't even take one thing away, then it will, everything we have done will be a nullity and it will be unacceptable. I pray that will not be our portion in Jesus' name. Thank you very much. God bless.
Amen. Okay, I think we would like to, if you have questions, you can type your questions on the chat screen. I'm not sure if anybody can see the chat screen. Pastor, I don't know if Pastor Sam is still there. If you have questions, you can type your questions in the chat screen. If you have questions, you can type your questions in the chat screen. I don't know.
The chat screen is not enabled.
Oh, it's not enabled.
Yeah, we can't see the chat screen.
We can't see the chat screen. Okay, I think if you have a question, then maybe just raise your hand. If you know how to raise your hand on Zoom, then we can let you talk. Okay, so there are a few hands already raised. So I'm going to just allow Sister Olushola. Where's Olushola now? Olushola. I'm trying to.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah. Okay, Pastor, you are on.
I'm honored. The network just went. Oh, sorry. So I'm just saying thank you so much to Mr. Segun Fadansi. I said I don't know why I find it difficult to say Mr. because I prefer to call him Pastor Segun, because you will see that even with all his financial acumen, that knowledge that he could bring, he's still bringing everything from the scripture. Thank you so much for being a great blessing. So we want to reiterate again that Pastor Emmanuel actually joined us from South Africa. We are so grateful, sir. And Dr. Olu Ogunfowora joined us from UK. Thank you so much for doing this for the Lord. And also Mr. Segun Fadansi. Now I want to raise something with you, sir, Pastor Emmanuel. You said money is everywhere. Now, I just want to have a little discussion with our speaker, then I will leave the floor open for questions and answer. We've seen some people raising up their hand. When you raise up your hand, we will call you. Pastor Emmanuel, you said money is everywhere.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me? I think the network is freezing there.
We can hear you, sir.
Hello.
Yeah,
Okay,
we can hear you, sir.
But it looks like Pastor Sam's network
has frozen, but maybe you should shed more light on it for us before it comes on, sir.
Okay.
So why is money everywhere and we don't have the money?
Now, just like, I made that statement in the light of physics of money. Electricity is everywhere. It just needs to be converted from the form in which it exists to a usable form. For instance, the sunlight has electricity in it, but it needs to be, the heat energy needs to be converted through a solar system into usable electrical currents. There is what is called bioelectricity. There is what is called inductive electricity. So electricity is everywhere, and the same way money is everywhere. When I say money is everywhere, I mean that the money we need is not far from us. Money is in your neighbor's compound. The money you need is in your neighbor's hair. The money you need is in your neighbor's dustbin. The money you need is in your neighbor's car. But it exists in a form that requires you to convert it from in the form in which it exists to a usable form. For instance, you have oranges. Within oranges, you have orange juice. Now, when you have orange tree, the orange tree in itself is money. However, the money does not translate to money until you convert it from the tree into a juice, and from a juice into a product you can sell. If you look around you, in every sphere of human life, there are avenues to create wealth. There's avenues to make money, whether it is in the hair of ladies or even in the hair of men, or it's in fingernails of everyone, or in the toenails of ladies, or in the food. Money is everywhere. So it is important to view money from that perspective, and that way, when you don't have money, what you just start looking at is, okay, if money is everywhere, where can I find it? What can I convert into money? There are always countless numbers of products that can be converted into money around us and around where we are. So that's what I mean when I say that money is everywhere. Just like electricity, you know that there are some means of electricity generation that are not viable. Others are viable. The same thing it is with money. There are a lot of business ideas around us that are not viable. Others are viable. So you want to look at what is the most viable business idea around me. Is it in refuse collection? Is it in innovation over refuse collection? Is it in even in our daily needs in terms of body maintenance for those that are into such areas of business? Or it could even be in the area of investing, like Brother Shegun spoke about the last time. So money is really not far from us. We just need to be able to identify where it is. And like Brother Shegun said, all prosperity, everything lies in the hands of God. God is the one who created all things. And if you notice that energy in physics and electronics, energy cannot be created. It can only be converted from one form to another. All energy exists in nature. Similarly, all monies exist in nature. It could be in minerals under the ground. It could be in farmlands. God has already blessed the planet with everything man needs for life and godliness. But it just needs to be conversion from one form to the other. So if you're looking for money, what you need to ask yourself is, okay, what can I convert around me into money? Just like time. Everybody has time, but it is what you convert that time into. That's when it becomes a useful value.
Okay, thank you very much, Pastor Emmanuel, for the clarification that, at least the money is near us. It's not far. The money you need is in your neighbor's pocket, is somewhere very close to you. All you need to do is to attract that money to yourself. Thank you very much. So I have two questions, one for Pastor Emmanuel and one for Dr. Olu. Pastor Emmanuel, in this physics of money, concept, how will you see pride? What do you call pride? Normally some people are so proud, and so money doesn't flow to them. How will you explain that in the concept of physics of money? That's one. And then to Dr. Olu, you are into impact financing and something like that, and you create wealth by solving social problems. So please, is there any practical social problem we can solve? I'm sure you have said some, just to bring it home again, so that we can understand what practical insight. So, Pastor Emmanuel, physics of money.
Okay, in pride, I would classify pride as internal resistance. Internal resistance. You know that in every power source, which in this context can be electricity source, there are what are called internal resistances. Even circuits, most circuits have their own internal resistance. Now, the internal resistance an average person possesses can manifest in form of pride. That's a form of hindrance that hinders the person from doing what he or she ought to do that could lead to financial advantage. So internal resistance, I think, which is a common occurrence in most electrical circuits, you have internal resistance, and you want to keep your internal resistance as low as possible if you really want current to flow within the circuit. So pride is a major problem because most people, because of pride, they don't want to do something. They're like, oh no, I'm too big for that. Well, I'm too big for that. But you know that it's really, there's no reason to be proud when you know that you can easily be able to make money. If you look at electricity generated from petrol, the one generated from sunlight, or the one generated from biological waste. When the electricity is flowing through a person's house, you can't say, hey, because this electricity is generated from biological waste, please don't bring it to my house. So the same thing it is, you can't say because you feel too big, you don't want to go into refuse collection, or you don't want to do some other menial jobs that will generate money. You don't want to, hinder yourself from taking advantage of such opportunities if that is the opportunity that exists around you. So I would classify pride as internal resistance in an electrical circuit.
Internal resistance. Okay. Thank you, sir. So let's hear from Dr. Oluogunfora. The question, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Pastor Oyeleke, for putting this together, and it's been quite insightful, knowledge sharing, and thanks for the insight from Pastor Emmanuel and my very good brother as well, Pastor Fadansi, because I think you've been ordained today.
Yes. And doctor, before you go on, sir, do you want me to also add to the question he asked? Can you talk more about the value creation you mentioned? You mentioned about value creation. So please help us add it to your answer. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. In terms of practical impact investing, if you look through the slides, actually, I listed some sectors that are actually key for impact investing. But one that is actually important that can actually create multiple wealth, and I'll just use that to answer this question. Housing, for instance, according to the World Bank, there are 22 million housing deficits in Nigeria. And what that means really is that we have land. From an economic point of view, really, factors of production, you talk about land, labor, capital, and organization. So the land is available. However, capital is a scarce commodity. The reason why capital is scarce really is that based on the existing financial landscape, people that would normally want to fund the affordable housing are looking at the tier 1, tier 2 market, which is at the top of the pyramid. So what will you do really as a social entrepreneur or impact investor trying to address the issue of housing shortage in Nigeria? So let's take it to the rural communities. Most farmers, they have farmlands. And usually this farmland is value to them in which they own, right? So there is a challenge as well in terms of what the law says around land use act. So it's a question of how do you resolve the legal issues around land ownership, and a rural farmer or people in the rural community can own their land, use it as an equity contribution to the investor that is willing to develop that land. And in terms of collateral, because the farmers are actually engaged, they are productive, they are not necessarily poor. It's a question of what they actually bring to the table. How can you get them to receive appropriate value for it? That is, they have a means to actually pay if eventually we provide them with decent housing, decent accommodation in the rural areas. So as you can see, really is that it's about trying to think through solving the challenge and bringing all the elements, which I call factors of production. And the whole advantage of impact investing really is that impact investing is looking at deploying value over a long term. Most impact investors will look or structure a deal that they are looking at 10, 15 years or even more, as against for profit, looking at immediate short-term profit gain. And I think this is a key distinction when you structure a deal for impact investing versus structuring a deal for profit. And if you looked at the slides that I actually put, in also in terms of the biblical principle, and for us as Christians, really, I talked about to need to avoid undue gain. Now, how can the Christian community put together, because for instance, the developed countries, the larger part of the impact investors are actually faith-based organizations. Church of England has so much wealth that they deploy in funding long-term investments. And the same way we talked about in Italy, the Roman Catholic, they have so much funds that they are now deploying into long-term investment, which is now part of impact investors, our funds that impact investors are putting together. So that is actually a practical way of solving the housing deficit in Nigeria. Then I think the question in terms of value, the reason why value really is that I like to see money in terms of value. And the reason why really is that as a measure of value, for instance, somebody might buy a Mercedes Benz, another person might buy a Toyota. The value to the buyer of a Mercedes Benz or maybe a BMW is different to the value to the buyer of a Toyota. So what in essence really is that creating value also needs to target who you want to exchange that value with. And if you link it to the presentation by Pastor Emmanuel in terms of concept of money, because my point of view really is that before the evolution of money, we exchange value. And the resistance that he talked about really is what are the things that hinder you from creating or making money? I term those as what are the things that hinder you from creating value. It is when you've been able to create that value that you cannot exchange it with what somebody else is willing to pay for. And once you're able to get value in return, which is what they call the concept of value appropriation, because you've been able to exchange what you have or what you are providing, and somebody else has been able to pay you for it. And it's also the concept of an entrepreneur setting up a business, like you rightly pointed out, hiring people, paying for their time in exchange for financial reward, which in this case is money. So the value they've been able to bring on board into the organization, because the combination of their time and the value they've also added. Because if it's only time, really, I think this is actually where I want to add value to what Pastor Emmanuel mentioned, really. You might say, oh, I don't need you anymore. But it's a combination of the time and the value that they are bringing into the organization that they are being rewarded for. So the time has a value, and that is what is being exchanged for financial reward in this instance, money. And that's why you also talked about time value of money. And this is linked to storage of money. And from what Pastor Segun mentioned, if you keep money static, it depreciates over time because it's not being put to use. And linking this to the concept of value creation that I mentioned, you appropriate it, you want to store that money in such a way that it is appreciating over time. So that's when you think about what are the different kind of instruments in which you can put the money in that it will appreciate in value over time. And I also use the example that I mentioned that one of the key drivers for impact investing are the philanthropy organization. The reality really is this, and based on years of research that I've actually been studying the space of philanthropy. Philanthropy is actually an investment. Most people just assume that Rockefeller, Gates Foundation, they give money away. They give money away to create value for the organization for a particular purpose. Gates, for instance, invested so much in health in order to be able to understand how he can invest over the long term in this space. Now, the foundation is pioneering work around vaccine for COVID-19. What the foundation work has been able to achieve in creating value, looking in the healthcare sector, it will be able to get returns in the vaccine development because somebody is still going to pay for that value that has been created, which in this case is going to be most governments, because they have to pay for the development of this vaccine. So if we look at money as well from a concept of value, like Pastor Samuel asked, really, it would change our perspective in terms of how we actually make money. So in essence, really, it's good to invest in stocks, right? However, if you ask yourself further, the companies that you want to invest in, are these companies creating value over the long term to ensure that if you invest your money in this company, in 5 years from now, 10 years from now, this company is still creating value for all stakeholders, because you can also explain concept of value to the shareholders or value to stakeholders. Those are different discussions that might be out of the scope of this engagement, because you can talk about shareholder value maximization, which is maximizing financial returns to the shareholders, or stakeholder value, which is ensuring that all the stakeholders in a firm get value from the activities of that business. So I think I'll stop here from now, but I've been able to explain how the concept of value is linked to money, which I always want to probably refer to a financial reward or financial exchange when either an individual or a company has been able to provide a value in exchange for something else. So really, the whole concept of trade by barter is still what we're talking about. Really, if you look at it from the evolution, we exchange value for something else that is now being kept or being stored to appreciate over the long term. In this instance, what we call money.
So much, Dr. Olu. Now, before I go on into the question, I want to interact with him. You have talked about something that I worked for you in the area of growing your money, and several people in your category. When people want to learn under them, so that they can also come up, you will always see that they throw it back to people and say, "You should go and learn. I grow this thing." How do you want to put a balance to the area of, we talk about pride, and we're talking about seeking for knowledge, and what about where you are seeking for knowledge from somebody that you know this has worked for, and there is a lot of resistance from there? How do you break even in that area, sir?
Okay. Thank you very much. Pastor Sam, thank God that knowledge is a universal quantity. It's available. It's freely available. It can be found in places. It's not localized to an individual. Yeah. You know how you and I detest. People who know very little. What do you know that you are ordering it anyway? When there are people, when there are people who know far. But to answer your question, people must first of all, seek knowledge on their own. I mean, there are many areas you don't need to learn from everybody. So you seek knowledge there. You can learn how to do stock market. You can find out how much do they invest money. You have learned about unit of concept of money, how to curtail your expenses and co. They are what you can learn on your own. But also, this type of seminar now, you see, let's even assume that I have been auditing knowledge. I mean, can I now audit here? So this type of seminar, people should seek knowledge by going for this type of seminars that we're doing. And there are many more. Harvard is doing things that are free. Many organizations are doing such things that are free. So people saying you want to learn from, and the person is not forthcoming. Well, is either your approach or such people they have little mind, because what are the money? I mean, Pastor Emmanuel say money is everywhere. If I teach you to know how to make more money for yourself, it's only going to relieve me because you won't ask me. That's one. And in any case, it's not going to diminish what I have. So in rounding up, I would say that people should not be deterred, they should not be discouraged. If you approach someone and you can't learn from that person, change your approach. If you still can't learn from that person, approach another person, learn from the internet, try and do many things. So there are various platforms where you can have this knowledge. That's what I would say, that people should not be discouraged and they should keep seeking for knowledge, because that's how their potentials will increase. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We will just give opportunity to three or four persons, and that will be closing for today. See a lot of people raising their hand. So if you can hear me, Stephen Job, if you can hear me, you can please ask your question now.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right, it's Tosin actually. Well done, sirs. Thank you so much, sirs, for the class, for the lectures. It's been eye-opening. I quickly want to ask, any of our three facilitators can actually answer, about making purchase of dollars. Okay, yeah, in this present state, we found out that, or I found out that dollar is actually on the rise. And I asked someone, and the person was like, it's best to ask people that are financially intelligent in that area. So is it wise to purchase dollar now? Say you're purchasing like a 200,000 naira dollar, converting 200,000 naira into dollar, and then when it rises again, you resell. Is there wisdom in that? Is it possible one gets to make profit in that kind of doing that kind of deal? I don't know what else. So that's my question, actually.
Okay, if Pastor will allow, let me just quickly answer that. And it's part of what I said in my presentation. Just for your information, Sister Tosin, I know of someone who used 100 million to buy dollars just before the lockdown. He bought it at 375. He has that same dollar is going. He bought like 300,000 or 270 something $1,000. That same dollar is going for 410 in first stack. 410, that's 25, that's 35 naira already. On 275,000, that's 10 million. You are okay to buy dollars. It can move against you, but if you look at the fundamentals now, which I'm sure Doctor we can talk more about. If you look at the fundamentals, all prices are going down. You hear that we are selling at a loss and things like that. You must know the reserves is shaky. You must know that the supply of dollars is thinning out. So the price is going to, is going to go up. So for me, I would rather hold the small money I have in dollars. Are you getting it? And when it goes up, I will sell. But if you see everything reversing, you also have to reverse your position. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Pastor Shegun, you've answered that question really, yeah, because Nigerian currency, unfortunately, is depreciating in value. And like we said, really in the sense that you want to ensure that your store of value is appreciating in the long term, or even if it's not appreciating, if it's static, but it's not depreciating. So it makes sense. It's just unfortunate, really, that Naira is depreciating. Of course, addressing that depreciation of the Naira from a patriotic point of view will mean that how do we get the economic managers in Nigeria to start going into other aspects of the economy that you can earn revenue from and not oil. But Sister Story, go ahead for now, convert your money to dollars that will retain the value or appreciate in the long run until we fix the economy that we can generate additional revenue from palm oil, from cocoa. Then hopefully when Naira is rising back, you ride the wave to move your money back to Naira.
So I think thank you so much, sir. I think is good. Now, Omani, if you are hearing me, we allow you to ask your questions straight away. Please go straight to the point. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Hello? Are you hear me, sir?
Yes, please.
Hello?
Speak, please.
Sir, are you hear me, sir?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Network is bad there. Okay, so if Omani, I think the network there is bad. Opeyemi Falana. Opeyemi Falana.
Hello, sir. Good evening, sir.
Opeyemi, good evening. Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me, sir?
We can hear you, please.
First and foremost, I want to appreciate you and the facilitator for this wonderful seminar. Ordinarily, my question goes to Sister Tosin question, but I believe the facilitator, the resourceful people, has finally give a appropriate answer to my question.
Okay, so let's.
I just want to ask that during this lockdown challenge that everybody are presently, is it ideal for one to invest or go into dollar business, the foreign currency pending time that things normalize? But the resourceful people as
they have answered. So let's thank you so much. They have answered that question so that we can move on. Ilesami Omani, are you now here now?
Yes,
you can go ahead.
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
okay,
ask your question, please.
Yeah, thank you so much for everyone that has eventually been resourceful today. I've actually learned a lot. So what I want to ask now is away from dollar now, forex. I'm talking about cryptocurrency now. I want to ask, is cryptocurrency a good way of investing now that we cannot hold money, that money will diminish, holding it and not invest and invest as Mr. Shegun has said. So I want to ask now, cryptocurrency, is it a good way of investment now in times like this? I'm bearing in mind the world market. Should we invest in cryptocurrency?
Okay, so
Pastor Shegun will answer again.
Okay, sir. I mean, thank you very much. And thank God this time last week we were just,
thank you so much.
Concluding another webinar that was put together by Pastor
Emmanuel.
And I will answer this question
here now.
Yes, I'll answer this question based on the answer of Pastor Isaac Obeche from Canada. Last week, because this same question was asked, and the question is, see, there is risk, they are the return, we know. Why are you talking cryptocurrency? Have you maximized the ones that everybody understands? Why is it the one that they will steal your money and you will not know where they are, that you want to start now? Why not start with the little ones first? Are you getting it? The central bank has warned bankers or as one that we should be aware of cryptocurrency. There are no regulations, clear-cut regulations today. People are doing it. I manage bank fraud. People are losing lots of money to cryptocurrency buyers and sellers. Once they steal your money like this, the next thing they are buying is crypto, because that one is not in any bank that you can seize. My advice to you is that beware of cryptocurrency for now. Try and consolidate in other known businesses, value creation, like I've been said. Come and learn from me how to make face masks from handkerchief, and things like that. Honestly, and just drop this idea of cryptocurrency for now, so that the money you have struggled hard to get will not just fly away towards heaven, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Okay, so we have two more questions, then we'll be rounding up. I'm seeing Isama Williams. Isama Williams. Yeah. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, from my question I would like to ask is, for the past years I've been investing from the age of 18, I've been investing my money. I came to realize something.
You've been investing your money in what? In what?
In different business. I've started the poultry, which was not fine. I went into Bitcoin, which my money is still growing, but that is aside. I went into a lot of business, but I noticed something. We're trying to invest it on a physical business. That is, we have a lot of people selling shoes, we have a lot of people selling clothes, and you said there's how will I put it? You said there are things we can invest and do business. Sir, I find no business doing, because when I try to invest, I see that other people are into the business already.
Okay, let me
Pastor Emmanuel, please help us there.
So when you find yourself in that space, what you need to think of is innovation. Everybody is selling particular products in a particular way. But what will set you apart is if you can innovate over an idea. Because if you really check it, there's nothing new under the sun. What generally find happening is new innovations, different ways of doing the same old thing that everybody used to do. And that's really where civilization, has changed the way we live. If you check right now, for instance, platforms like Facebook and let me use that as an example, have changed the way news and broadcasting and things like that is being done. Before now, we're all limited to the conventional television or radio to get information. But right now, social media has changed the way we broadcast. So what happened? Somebody came up with an innovative idea. Now, talking about the everyday thing that people sell, like shoes, ties, and what else now? Gari, beans, and things like that. Now, you can think of innovative ways of doing the same beans and rice, getting the products, let's say, for example, to end users in a packaged manner, but delivered to them, and creating an ordering system using technology. You can create a database whereby people can order, let's say, Gari, at a price that the people who sell it in the market buy. So you go to the farm, you find a way of getting it at a lot cheap, at the same price at which the people who sell it in the market buy. So that when you sell, you can sell at a competitive rate, but the product is delivered to people's houses. So generally, what you need is not to be frustrated or to be tired or to be discouraged. What you need is to sit down and start asking yourself, what different way can I do this same thing that other people are doing? Before water began to be bottled, it used to be tied in waterproof, and some people were not willing to buy pure water and waterproof. And then it went into bottles. So innovation is what you need. You need to just, try to innovate over any idea that you have. With innovation, you can create a niche. With innovation, you can transform any business. Innovative. Pastor. Pastor, are you still there?
Hello, sir. Thank you, sir. We thank you. So innovation. Now someone send a chat and asking about Unifund.
Unitrust.
What Unitrust? Yes. What about it?
Pastor Shagun, can you answer that?
No,
Is it something
that's for past. I mean, Dr. Ogunfowola, Unit Trust. Yes.
All
Dr.
right.
Ogunfowola,
Yeah, thank you very much. I think we have all said, really, in the sense that if you earn less, for instance, if you have a limited amount of money and you want to invest in a big way, and if you look at back in time in terms of community, cooperative society, and pulling funds together based on people that you trust, so it's a lot better to pull those your little resources. If it's 10 naira, when you multiply 10 naira in 1,000 places, that give you 10,000 naira. What 10,000 naira can invest in can create a larger value than what 10 naira can invest in. And that's the basic principle of trust, mutual funds, and those type of investment. And it's also based on your risk profile. If you don't want to take the risk alone, you pull funds together with other people in form of mutual fund and trust, and an investment firm can invest that pool of funds on your behalf. So the value of your investment is still increasing, but maybe not as much as if you have taken the risk alone, but you are better off in the long run because you have shared the risks with other people. So it's a recommended way if you are not an active investor for you to invest.
So you recommend it because that's what the
Yes.
person actually
Yes.
wanted to be sure of.
Yeah.
It's a good way. Okay, thank you, sir. Bright Eden. Your question, Bright Eden. If you are there, can you hear me? Eden. Okay, you are on. Bright, please speak so that we want to. Okay, so if you are not ready, we'll give to one or another person. Benson O'Day. Benson O'Day. Benson O'Day, Benson O'Day. Okay, so now Benson is not there, so I call one more person. If we cannot get it, then it will be Kenny.
Hello. Hello.
Yes,
okay, Kenny, please go ahead.
Okay.
You're online now.
Good evening. Actually, I'm Adi with your line.
Yeah. Good evening.
Benson O'Day is jumping in.
Okay, so Ben, wait. Let Kenny ask his
Pastor Sam and the facilitators, that the Father and C, Dr. Olu and Pastor Emmanuel. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I want to ask if Pastor Emmanuel can please share the slide, if we can have the slide for everybody to be fine. But I picked the slide from Dr. Olu and Daddy Father and C, but I want to have Pastor Emmanuel's slide too, because he was unable to share his screen, and I wouldn't know if we can have that email to us.
Okay, so Pastor, I think Pastor, if they're asking for the slides, sir.
Yeah, so I'll email it to you, then you can share it to them.
Thank you so much. Benson O'Day, finally. Benson O'Day.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, I want to say very big thank you to all the facilitators and the organizer of the program. Well, my question goes thus. I think my question goes directly to Pastor Fadausi. He said something about the stock market in Nigeria now, you know, the way it goes, when he said he invested some money in MTN, you know. So I would like to ask, how does, for some of us that indeed invested in stock market one time like that, but it's like, you know, we don't really understand the trend. Now, can our little money, such as maybe what's the least amount that we can really invest in stock market as it is now? Take for instance now, you know, if someone has like 10,000, 20,000, can someone pull some stock in the market and get some returns as it goes? I just want to know how it works. Thank you very much.
Okay. I mean, thank you very much for that question. Last week, we also learned that some of these investments allow, I mean, small amount of money. 10,000 is a lot of money also to invest in the stock market. I can tell you, and I can immediately tell you, I'm looking for WAPCO to buy, WAPCO cement. I'm looking for WAPCO. I wanted to buy it at 10 something last week. I missed it a bit. It closed at 1160 something on Friday. By May 4, WAPCO is going to, they are going to close their register, and by May 26, they are going to pay 1 Naira dividend. If you buy a stock with 10,000 Naira, let's assume 12,000 Naira. Let's assume you also bought it for 12 Naira. I get in it. You have bought 1,000 units. They are going to pay you 1 Naira dividend per unit. So you are going to make 1,000 Naira. By the time you net off this thing, maybe like 800 Naira or 850 on 12,000. You can annualize it. That's almost 8-point-something%. So to answer your question, first of all, I mean, you can invest with 5,000. That's how we all started, you know, investing 5,000, your unit of money. I get in you. That's what it is for. It's for investment. You can invest it. I get in it, and then you have returns. But I also advise that you seek information. Last week when I was looking for WAPCO, you know, the Bible says, the Lord said to my Lord, sit at my right hand until I make enemies your footstool. One was wondering how David got to know God was talking to God. Was he there? Because I was trying to discuss, when I was discussing WAP with my stockbroker, next second, as if someone was listening to us, they just took it off the market and I could not buy. You know, so there are stock that are 50 kobo. With 10 Naira, you buy 20,000 units. And some, I tell you that you can invest your unit of money, try and gain understanding, don't just follow the crowd, you know, and that will be my advice. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. So we want to really thank every one of us, and want to appreciate our facilitator, starting from Pastor Emmanuel Ogbechi.
Hello, sir.
No, please.
Hello.
Please, we ended the.
So please, I would like to make.
And the time.
Pastor, please go ahead. I've muted everyone.
Okay, sir. So we want to thank God for every one of us for coming, and we want to really appreciate our facilitator, starting from Pastor Emmanuel Ogbechi. I must tell you, even technically, it actually make it easier for us to be able to. At the beginning of the meeting, we were actually having some inches and all that, and he came in to help us. That is someone who is not hoarding knowledge. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And Dr. Olu Ogunfowora, we thank you for this great opportunity to connect with you, and you being a great blessing to us. I wrote something down that resonates with me very well from what you said. You talk about doing good and doing well also as a form of investment. Thank you for bringing this to us. And our ordained pastor here today, Pastor Shegun Fadansi, thank you for coordinating everybody and making everything to be easy to do. Thank you for bringing your wealth of knowledge to bear. We are so grateful that we can connect with you. We really appreciate you so much. God bless you in Jesus' name. Now, before we go, Pastor Emmanuel Ogbechi had authored several books. Physics of Money, you will see he talk passionately about it. He is also dealing with economic hardship and several other faith, the substance of things, how grace work. These are so many of his books that he has written. We could get in touch and connect with him now. After now, we will share all his link and so that you could be able to take advantage of this book that he has made available for the benefit of all of us. He's also a host on television and DSTV, Hallelujah channel on DSTV 198, I guess. Pastor, am I correct, sir?
Yeah, you are correct, sir.
198. So
198.
it's really been a great blessing to us. So as many that could, and he has said he will share his slide. Someone said he was able to get Pastor Fadansi's and Dr. Ogufora's slide. How did they do that? They were screen grabbing your slide as you are going. I think you can also help us to make all the slides available too, so that we can share with every of our participants. So we will be grateful to that. Thank you so much. Now, before we close, we will be asking our Father in the Lord, who did the opening prayer, to also help us to do the closing prayer. This is organized by the Redeemed Christian Church of God, the House of Unparalleled Blessing. And like I have said before, Dr. Ogunfora joined us from UK, free. Pastor Emmanuel joined us from South Africa. He's also doing it free. And of course, our own pastor, in-house pastor, we are together on this work, and he has been a great blessing